what we find from these events is there's so much happening that I talk to businesses afterwards and they go, oh, this has happened and we're really excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, we need to have some opportunities to for people really quickly, a couple of sentences, but really shine a light on something that's happening for their company or their organisation and some of the insights around what made it happen that other companies can learn from, and you might want to go and talk to them. And so, in starting this, I would like to give a shout out. He's not going to be talking today, although he probably could because he's awesome, but this only happened yesterday, so I would like Owen to stand up from Coach Welly, if you don't know Owen. So Owen, his company, they're based on the Sunshine Coast, they're a startup, and they have been announced yesterday as finalists in 2 categories of the FIT APAC Awards. And so they've been announced as finalists in the App of the Year and the Startup of the Year. So props to Coach Welly. I'm now going to ask if Paul Hoon from eTrainU might just come and say a couple of words. They've had some awesome stuff happen that Paul just wants to briefly touch on. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Nick. Paul Hoon from eTrainU. We're an online learning company based here in Brisbane. It's a really fantastic panel. Everything that we're hearing today, we've just lived in the last 3 years. So really hard to kind of piece it all together. But when you have lived it, we've sort of been on a scale-up journey. We went from 30 customers 3 years ago to 1,030 today. So really high growth, expansion across Australia and North America and Europe in the last few years. So sort of notable things that we're doing in the world of sport. We work with 13, I think, national governing bodies in Australia, and we've really focused on delivering technology that aligns to our mission, which is to build exceptional communities through education. And so we're thinking about grassroots sport explicitly. We do work a little bit in the elite sports, so we actually educate for the last 5 years all pro golfers in the women's and men's PGA and LPGA Tour integrity programs in 10 languages. But the solutions that we're providing in Australia have been really around aligning sort of the fragmented federated model education solutions for all personas in Australia, and then we've taken that to the US. So we're just talking about the grassroots numbers here. One of our customers in the US has got 4 million people in it. They're quite large. So I guess some lessons learnt along the way. Australia is a much more economical place to prove your craft than America. Don't go too early. But once you've proven your craft, go to America because the exchange rate's awesome and the scale's awesome, as is Europe. Get good advice early. So we've surrounded ourselves with really good advisors around tax and business setup, and we're thinking about the end goal at the start. But also make sure you plug into things like the ASTN. They're really fantastic partners. There's really, honestly, there's a great group of people that we've been working with for a long time, and a lot of partners who we can really say has accelerated our growth. So if anyone wants to chat after and talk a little bit more detail, be happy to. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Paul. And yes, 4 million customers is, probably not too bad for a particular organisation. And I think the points you made around partnership and collaborations, that's one of the things that we hear about, a characteristic of Queensland and the Queensland ecosystem. And we do, that business acumen is really important, and that business support. And we do have people in the room from organisations that are very supportive to athletes and to startups who can provide that as well. So some really good insights. I would now like to briefly welcome up Tim Clark. So Tim is the new CEO of Q Sport. Tim has a background in tech, and so we thought it was a good opportunity for those of you who don't know Tim just to put a face to the name, and for him just to give a couple of comments around what his priorities will be coming in as CEO.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you. Hello, I'm Tim Clark. I'm the CEO 6 weeks in of Q Sport. It's also just gone 5 o'clock. I do not want to hold you up any longer from what we want to get to out there. So let me be really brief. A couple of things I want to share with you this afternoon. Q Sport is the peak body for organised sport in Queensland, for those that haven't come across the organisation before. It's state sporting organisations, principally. That's at the heart of the organisation's purpose, but wrapped around that group of sporting organisations is a range of some of these businesses, government, agencies, that will actually try and help solve the problems that those 71 sports that we work with, all the way from dragon boat racing, all the way up to the top end of town, lots of zeros on the end of the lines. We're working with all of those organisations. The thing I would say is that everyone from dragon boat racing to the top end of town has the same problems. I'm 6 weeks in, I'm having lots of conversations with some of the CEOs that are in this room. Volunteering, participation growth, actually the bottom line, these are shared problems from AFL tennis, cricket, rugby union, rugby league, all the way down to dragon boat racing, ultimate disc, dog show jumping. Everybody's in the same boat. How we scale those solutions, how we enable the sector to solve those problems in collaboration and in concert rather than in silos, kind of side by side by side, that's a big part of the work for me and for Q Sport going forward. Having said that, I represent the demand side. I'd love to have conversations with people who are solution providers to those kinds of problems. I particularly want to talk to you if you're a solution provider for a thing we haven't even worked out as a problem for us yet. Because we're going to solve a whole range of problems that are in front of us in the next 12 to 24 months, but I'm thinking also about 3 to 5 years to 10 years from now. In 2033, we're going to have done something extraordinary in 4 weeks of sport across Olympic and Paralympic Games. What are we going to do in 2033 to make good on that? And that's where I want to work with government, with the sector, to try and tap into the ecosystem and its excellence and bring that to life to try and solve those problems. That's about enough from me. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Tim. And we'll be doing some work with Q Sport in the sport tech space so that we can give updates on how to bring you guys with solutions to the problems that Q Sport know they have and don't know they have, the unknowns. So now, speaking of government programs where you guys might be interested to tap in, Sean, who I think is way up the back, so he's going to run down the stairs like he's a rock star. That's okay. maybe we need Rob's song to sort of put a bit of pizzazz behind this running. Sean's from Trade and Investment Queensland, and so he's just going to touch on a program that I think will be of interest to a lot of people in the room. And these programs come up quickly, and the applications are due quickly. So Sean thought he'd give you a heads up.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. And good to chat, everyone. I'm Sean Bohen from Trade and Investment Queensland. So we're the global business agency of the Queensland government. We've been running a bunch of programs and initiatives to support the globalization of the sports tech industry, which I think is key. And I think, we'd love to have a session with Paul and others on just some of those challenges. And Paul talks, great stories about that journey. But one of the things that's upcoming, we run some grant programs from Trade Investment Queensland. We run one called Go Global, which is a matching grant program up to $25,000. Match funding to help finalize a export-related deal in an overseas market. And we're looking to launch a sports tech dedicated category this year. That program will launch in July, we're intending. So that can cover sports tech and probably more broadly human performance. We're looking at a few other programs. We're supporting the ASTN mission, and we'll be supporting 5 companies to participate in that. And hopefully we'll have those companies afterward kind of come back and share some of the lessons learned with that mission. And working with Nicole and her team on the Sports Tech Accelerator Program, which is helping pair companies with experts to help position for global export, and then involving matchmaking as well. So there's a range of these initiatives. We're happy to chat. If you're doing interesting work in international markets or keen to do that, come talk to me as well. Thanks.